that it just depends. But yeah, I will be watching and trying to cover all of this and screen recording it. But yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything that's happening. And I don't think I am. But yeah, it could happen very soon. I want to hold on because, well, I guess I didn't get another violation before I was being accused. Well, never mind. I shouldn't say that aloud. God, I probably just cursed myself. I want to show you this because I said I had a lot of data that I thought was interesting. So Harry Enton, who I like a lot. I mean, I like his data, I like his enthusiasm. Listen to what he was talking. This is more data on how Americans feel on Trump's bill.
How do Americans feel about the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, if we're talking about adjectives, how about they think it's awful, they think it's horrible, and to quote our colleague Charles Barkley, terrible, terrible, terrible. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at the net favorable rating on the big, beautiful bill. I don't just got one poll for you, Omar. I got 5 of them, and the net favorable rating, minus 19 points, Washington Post, minus 20 points, Pew Research Center, Fox, minus 21, Quinnipiac University, minus 26, KFF, minus 29. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know that when the net favorable rating of your bill is somewhere between minus 19 and minus 29 points, that it is not a positive bill as viewed by the American public. The American public at this particular point hate the big, beautiful bill. As far as they're concerned, it's not a big, beautiful bill. It's a big, bad bill.
Amen. I mean, sometimes he gets things wrong and annoys the absolute annoys the F out of me. But okay, thank you, Harry, for getting it right there. I think that's correct. Actually, and I love Justin Wolfers, but I think that's less important. I want to make sure. Okay, this is the end of like the most powerful speeches. Raphael Warnock's the senior senator from Georgia, and also, if you don't know what he's a I don't know. Does he describe himself as a pastor? I think he most often describes himself as a faith leader. But I mean, he's preaches in the same church as Martin Luther King Jr., like Ebenezer Baptist. He's fabulous. I just think I'm trying to think of the right way to say this because, I'm not huge on morals and ethics, but when we're talking about a bill that's going to take food out of children's mouth, they're not going to be able to go to the doctor. We're literally going to socially engineer children out of existence. I think if ever there was a moral question about what we're about to do, this is it. And like when I heard him speaking on this, I mean, chills. Again, this is the senior senator from Georgia, Raphael Warnock, who Republicans thought, just put Herschel Walker up against him. And that's the same thing because they're both black.
And so in a very real sense, lives are on the line. We are in a moral moment because something else is on the line. I submit that the character of the country is on the line. In a real sense, the question tonight is, who are we? Not who do we tell ourselves we are, but who are we really? What and who do we care about? What kind of nation are we? And what kind of people do we want to be? Who matters? And who doesn't? Who do we think is dispensable? In no place is the answer to that question clearer than in a nation's budget. I submit that a budget is not just a fiscal document. A budget is a moral document. Show me your budget and I'll show you who you think matters and who doesn't. And if this awful budget were an EKG, it would suggest that our nation has a heart problem and is in need of moral surgery.
Preach is in need of moral surgery. it just gets better too. Like, this is a good one.
But they said that if you don't disperse, we will have to arrest you. What they didn't understand is that I had already been arrested. My conscience had been arrested. My heart and my imagination, my moral imagination, had been arrested by this idea that we as a country are better than this. I come from a tradition where you don't just pray with your lips, you pray with your legs. You put your body in the struggle for other struggling bodies. But they said that
Put your body in the struggle for other struggling bodies. The man is a poet. Like, I love Raphael Warnock, and it gets even better. Like, this is the truth of what we're doing.
if they enact these deep cuts to Medicaid, as they are positioned not to extend these premiums, these tax credits, they are raising the cost of health care for all of us. Even if you are on private insurance, you are not safe. Your health care is about to go up. Your hospital might close because they're cutting these clean energy tax cuts. Your utility bills are about to go up. And so I have a question tonight. Who voted for that? Some of us are Democrats, some of us are Republicans, some of us are independents, some voted for one party, some voted for the other party. I get it, but who voted for that? Who voted for everybody's health care premiums to go up and their hospitals to close? Here's what I know. The folks back in Georgia didn't vote for that. They voted for me and they voted for Donald Trump, but they didn't vote for that. Ordinary folks don't want this. Just ordinary, everyday people who barely pay attention to politics, they don't want this. Even a Fox News poll, and you won't often hear me say that, but even a Fox News poll from this month found that Americans don't support this big, ugly bill. This is symptomatic of the ways in which the people's voices have been squeezed out of their democracy. This is not just a healthcare fight. It is that. It is not just a fight for food security, for SNAP. It is that. But in the real sense, it is a fight for our democracy, whose voice gets to be heard in this chamber. That's what this is about, the character of the country. Ordinary Americans don't want to do this to our children. That's why they need to know that 71% of all Medicaid enrollees in Georgia are children. 71%. Taking away health care from kids to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. Now, let me be clear. I'm all for tax cuts. I believe working families deserve a tax cut, and I certainly don't want to see them face a tax hike this year. That's why I want to nearly double the child tax credit. I believe in tax cuts for hardworking families, for middle-class people, for working-class families.
Preach. Like, this is the reality of what we're about to do. Ruin lives. Oh, and it gets better. Wait, I want to make sure. That's not. Hold on one second.
If they enact these
that's the one I just played. I just want to make sure I'm not playing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. There's like 3-minute clips that are like chilling.
Now, let me be clear. I'm all for tax cuts. I believe working families deserve a tax cut, and I certainly don't want to see them face a tax hike this year. That's why I want to nearly double the child tax credit. I believe in tax cuts for hardworking families, for middle-class people, for working-class families. But instead of doing that, instead of helping working-class families who are struggling now against a 10% tax on everything and rising costs, we're now burdening our children by adding $3 trillion to the debt. We're taking away health care from kids and then burdening them with the debt. We are engaged in Robin Hood in reverse, this body of stealing from the poor in order to give to the rich. This massive transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top. Yeah, this is socialism for the rich. And when the people hear about it, guess what? They don't like it.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I just have to acknowledge I'm not going to block you, the goatness. I'm sorry, the name. I love how you trust that America hates the bill, but you blame the lost election on uneducated. No. Well, no, I don't know about that. The lost election. No, I mean, that's another story. The election. No, I've made I could make a mathematical argument for the lost election, which I have, which very few people are interested in that type of long mathematical argument just on voter suppression, just on challenged voter rolls in swing states. So that's an incorrect statement. But I think what you're referring to is me constantly saying MAGA can't read or do math. Yeah, like I think that's a crazy. I love how you trust that America hates the bill. Yeah, if you've been watching this live, which I get it, your attention span's probably 2 minutes, so you probably checked in and out. I have showed it's not me, it's Fox. It's the worst are the Fox polls. It's everyone. It's every poll across the political spectrum saying America no likey being robbed. The poor don't want to be robbed, so billionaires and corporations can have more. And I've shown example after example. It's math. I'm not saying I feel like America doesn't like this bill. Like, it's mathematical. It's, it's math. It's not my feelings. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I just read that and I was like, God, can you guys just learn something and stick to the parts where, how could you have been here this whole time and not seen any of the parts? Poll after poll. We've seen 6 polls, including Fox. Fox is the second worst for non-approval for this bill. Like, it's like, where'd you get that from? I don't know. All the mathematical examples that have shown during this live. We all just need to give up. We need to give up on MAGA because they can't do it. They can't figure it out. There's no way possible. You're being robbed. Let me just say it slower. We're all being robbed together. And like, why you would even, while being robbed, it's like it's holy Stockholm syndrome. You look up Stockholm syndrome and then look up a basic math class. That's what you need to look up. You are in love with your captor. You are empathizing with your captor who is robbing you. It's like if a horrific violent home invasion happened against you and then the cops came and you're like, they didn't mean it. They didn't mean to rob me. They said they're giving me all the money back in a few years. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, they said, and all the stuff they stole from me is going to be back times 1,000. It's no big deal. You sound insane. We can't help you anymore. Like, we're almost on 4 hours of trying to help you. If you're not there, we just have to give up at this point. We don't know what to do anymore. We can't help you anymore. Again, this live will repost to TikTok if anyone needs to try to help their delusional MAGA family members who can't find their way out of a paper bag. But we are out of ways to help you not be robbed. And whilst you're being robbed, the horrible irony is we're all being robbed too, right alongside you. And nothing we say, no matter how slow we talk, no matter how we show the math calculations, we're like, here you go. You guys can't get there. So don't ask me what's wrong with me. Find a mirror, stare at yourself, and figure out what's wrong with you. Start by Googling Stockholm Syndrome. Then I would enroll in a basic math class. But don't ask anyone who can, don't ask us on the left what's wrong with us. We can read and do math. So we're a step ahead of you. At least we are. And here's the ultimate irony. We are trying to protect you and ourselves. You're experiencing, my frustration is self-preservation. Mainly for children and your children, right? Because I understand the numbers. 50% of children in this country are on Medicaid. 50 mother effing percent. Well, you're like, just get to work. You don't need health care. Yeah, tell that to the kids that are now going to have to pay for our retirements. Everything we're paying into our retirements is being used by boomers. The children, you don't think the 50% of kids on Medicaid, their ability to get free school lunches, to focus in school, to have access to preschool, which determines hundreds of thousands of plus or minus in lifetime earnings. It's the children you're effing over. That's our ability to retire. That's what I've said. I can't say it any slower. I don't know how to make this simpler. And I was a teacher. I am a teacher. I feel like I'm teaching now. I don't know what to do. I'm trying so hard, and still none of you could get it. Oh, another absolutely asinine comment. There you go. Like, truly, you are beyond help, sir. Your brain does not work. And whenever you find your way to the paper bag and you realize, oh, this isn't good for me. This isn't good for my children. I was just a weirdo in cognitive dissonance. Look up cognitive dissonance. That could help. It won't. But, just thoughts. The irony is you're drowning us all. Your stupidity is dragging us all down with you. It's too bad.
Tax on everything and rising costs. We're now burdening our children by adding $3 trillion to the debt. We're taking away health care from kids and then burdening them with the debt. We are engaged in Robin Hood in reverse, this body of stealing from the poor in order to give to the rich. This massive transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top. Yeah, this is socialism for the rich. And when the people hear about it, guess what? They don't like it. Democrats and Republicans and independents, when the people hear about what's in this big ugly bill, they don't like it. And that's why the folks on the other side are trying their best to fast track it. That's why they're trying to pass it, and they haven't even finished writing it. They're twisting themselves in knots, making their members walk the plank under the threat of a primary to pass this big ugly bill. The American people do not want to rob our children of food and health care and then burden them with trillions in debt to give billionaires and wealthy corporations another tax cut. The people do not want this bill. And so if the people do not want this bill, but they are trying to pass it, here's the question you got to ask yourselves at home. You have to ask yourselves, well, who are they working for? Who are they fighting for? Who do they think matters? Do you think they are working for you? This is a moral moment, and a budget is a moral document.
And I've never heard it said that way, but truly that was poetry. And by the way, that guy that's crying in the comments, I didn't realize what you were saying this entire time. This is not debate time. I didn't realize that you were trying to get me to speak to you. This show is called The People's Receipts. This is where people who can do math and whose brains work, we gather together to think about how we're going to keep our faces above water and keep from drowning and your stupidity from pulling us under. There are times where I debate and there are times where I do this. This is not the time you think it is. Either be quiet or I will block you. Like that. I didn't understand what you were saying. I thought you were just saying things in the comments. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what was going on. Yeah. This is very obviously we're not debating right now. But yeah. I don't know. And I followed you. So we must have talked before. I'll talk. And I mean this like, sorry, we have a lot going on in America and your selfishness is truly mind boggling to me right now. But yeah, like we can have a conversation another time. I think be there probably debating with Pickles like on Wednesday or Thursday, depending, and then probably with Chris on Sunday, and probably doing my own a debate I host at some time later in the week. It's just right now this bill that's going to ruin our children's lives is taking precedent. But yeah, any other time than right now, like now is not the time for a tantrum. You know, it's not about you right now. I mean, you should care about this. But you don't. Heather, thank you for the $5 on Venmo. I wish it was more. I love your big, badass brain. You have inspired me to take a class in writing because I want to help people the way you do. That is so cool. And I love writing. That's amazing. Anyone, all forms of communication, great idea right now. We need people. Maybe you can figure out how to write something that MAGA will read and understand. You never know. I totally approve of that. And here's an example like, oh, this is perfect timing. If you want to know why it is like keeping me up at night, and it's because, you know, you guys know if you've watched me debate, I'm so obsessed with statistical analysis. I pay this like $50 a month for the ability to do like take huge data sets, insert them into a program and do statistical analysis. And it's because I'm fascinated by the numbers and by things. And the last time I took a huge data set and put it in, one of the last huge ones because it depends on the size of the data set, was about what the costs of these Medicaid cuts and what that was going to do, not to urban areas, but rural areas or red states like Kentucky. And this is Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky. And this is the stuff that keeps me up at night, right? I know rural areas, right? The health desert in the South, in Idaho, right? People are going to have to drive even farther. If someone is going into cardiac arrest, if they need care immediately, like people are not going to live through this in the rural South. And I don't care who you voted for, like that makes me want to sob thinking about it. Because I think the average person doesn't understand any of this. And listen to Andy Beshear talk just about how many hospitals are closing in Kentucky.
This is going to devastate the economy. Now, if it shuts down 35 rural hospitals in Kentucky, those are the second largest employers in each of the counties they're in behind the public schools. Every doctor, every nurse, every orderly, every custodian loses their job. And you know what? The ones that would qualify for that tax cut don't get it because they don't have an income anymore. I mean, you look at that amount of job loss in so many communities. This is not something that's going to stimulate the economy. And I think fewer people are going to qualify for the tax cut because of how hard it hits the economy. It's basically looking at one of the fastest growing industries across America and slashing it and claiming that those job losses won't happen. It's also going to make the workers of America less productive. Either they're going to be less healthy or they're going to be taking more time off to drive parents and kids to doctors and hospitals that are hours away. I mean, I think anybody who just steps back and says at least 20,000 Kentuckians are going to lose their job over this, no, that's not good for our state. And again, just the breakdown of numbers in Kentucky, we think, are at least 200,000 people lose their coverage. That's 200,000 people that are less healthy, that might not be able to work now. 35 rural hospitals potentially close and 20,000 Kentucky healthcare workers lose their job. So the argument for why it's bad for the economy is right there.
It's the economy, but then imagine, I just want you to, and I was trying, oh my gosh, because it was someone else, I'm trying to think of who, maybe it was Rand Paul, but I actually don't think it was. It was someone talking about Kentucky and saying how many counties already don't have a hospital and how they have to go to neighboring counties, and how now when these rural hospitals shut, like we're talking about an hour and 30-minute to 2-hour drive to a hospital if someone's hemorrhaging, if someone's having a heart problem. I mean, these are lives that will be lost. Like and then there's the economic thing. Like America First, we're supposed to be bringing jobs back, but we're doing the opposite. There's that too. But it's like, you just do not understand. People are clearly not grasping the devastation of this bill. And I could cry right now. Okay. So, I think this is the last clip from Warnock, where he closed it out, which, I mean, it's like chilling.
And maybe because I was here yesterday and 8 years ago for a similar fight with faith leaders, maybe because I'm a preacher and it's Sunday, and I've been here instead of church, I have especially been thinking about those of us who are people of faith. People whose lives are informed by Scripture, people of the book. And maybe those of us who have different politics but read from the same book ought to spend some time together reading the book. Because I do sometimes wonder, and I say this with all humility, none of us owns the truth. But if I'm honest, there are days when I have to ask people of my faith tradition as a Christian, are we reading the same book? The book I know says, I was hungry and you fed me. I was sick, I was in prison and you visited me. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Inasmuch as you've done it to the least of these, you've done it also unto me. The book that I love says, learn to do good, seek justice, rescue the oppressed, defend the orphan, plead for the widow. Speak out for those who cannot speak, for the rights of the destitute. Speak out, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and the needy. My book says whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord and will be repaid in full. The prophet Amos condemns those who buy the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals. They sell the poor out and working class people for cheap. And for those of us who have a vote in this moment, for my colleagues who are swinging on a moral dilemma, I hear the prophet Micah say, he has already told you what is good. And what does the Lord require? But that you do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God. May God be with our nation and grant us grace, wisdom, and courage for this moment.
Truly, that is, honestly, we need a benediction. It's almost like a funeral for because that's what we're doing. We're signing death warrants for poor people and children. 50% of children in this country are on Medicaid. It is shameful what we are doing. And I'm not like I was raised, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've read the Bible cover to cover. I was a Bible quiz champion in Assemblies of God churches. You don't want to go at me with the Bible, because believe me, I know it. But I'm just saying, I'm also not the one claiming to be religious, claiming to be evangelical, claiming to be Christian. Every single thing conservatives do is antithetical to Christianity, period. You guys are disgusting hypocrites. Disgusting hypocrites. You've lost touch with your own humanity, with empathy, and you have, like, also you can't read or do math. Like, I don't know anybody who would vote to rob themselves and their community. Like, nobody ever I've seen in history would be like, yeah, even though all mathematical models tell me I'm being wrong, the guy who says men shouldn't wear makeup yet puts makeup on every day told me it's math is a lie. What I mean, let's all just give up.
Mr. President, veterans should never have to say those words in this country. Frank is a veteran on dialysis. He called this week, and he said, the food bank and my SNAP benefits are the only way I eat right now. I can't work. I'm not old enough to retire. And I'm dipping into my retirement early just to keep up with my mortgage. Without this help, I don't know what I will do. Mr. President, veterans should never have to say those words in this country. One of the most sacred
Don't worry, the Senate increased the defense budget, not for veterans, not for the people that have served and suffered and now have PTSD and chronic conditions and desperately need help. They've cut those benefits. Less for veterans, but more for defense contractors like Space Karen. So he can crash more rockets and try to fly us to Mars where while children can't eat, can't go to the doctor. Veterans don't have what they need and have no idea what to do. By the way, this is Senator Mark Kelly. He's our now senior senator from Arizona. I'm a born and raised Arizonan. He's an astronaut, Air Force pilot, and the best we could do in trying to replace John McCain. R.I.P. John McCain. We all love John McCain in Arizona, but we did get ourselves an astronaut, Air Force pilot to replace him. So you could tell. But I mean, this is the true story. Veterans can't eat. They can't pay their bills. They served our country. We're deporting Afghan interpreters who served in combat that we promised asylum to. None of this makes any sense unless you have a lot of money.
promises we make to the men and women who serve is that we will take care of them when they return home. That promise doesn't end when they hang up the uniform. It includes making sure that they can afford food, access health care, and live with some dignity. And yet, here's Frank, sick, struggling, and wondering how he'll survive because the programs he relies on are under threat. Mr. President, veterans.
Great job supporting veterans, conservatives. As always, amazing job never doing what you say you're going to do or caring about what you say you care about. Hey, states' rights, brother. Now Trump's doubled the size of the federal government. Hey, I'm a fiscal conservative. And when I say double the size, you don't understand that the majority of actual workers for the federal government are contracted. I'm talking about the money the federal government is costing us. You understand that, right? Just blowing out the deficit for next year. And let's go with the fake math of Republican liars in the Senate. Just like Rand Paul said, okay, you want to invent new math that no accountant would ever use. Well, then at minimum, we're blowing out the deficit by $270 billion next year. Trump spent $200 billion more in the first 100 days of his presidency than Biden did the year before. Trump has brought in the swamp. His attorney general was a lobbyist for Qatar, for Middle East countries. Like, you have no idea what's going on. Every single thing you guys once said you stood for, you're now giant hypocrites. I had some guy who said he voted for Trump saying, We'll have the federal government protect us. We need to limit the power of the states. And he was dead serious. That's what he said yesterday. Like, you guys are so backwards and like essing Trump's D. You don't know what's true anymore. Steph, thank you for the very sad super chat. You said, I'm sad now. I know, I'm sad too. When I have to show these things, like, this is what we're doing. You guys, America first, we care about veterans. We're just making it so they can't pay their bills and can't get the health care they need. Nothing you guys say matters to you. No new wars. You guys are, I mean, the hypocrisy never ends. And just to I don't know if I got this part of Brian Schatz's speech, so I just want to drive home the energy crisis. Like, anyone interrupting the transfer to more efficient energy is effing idiotic. I could see why Trump's doing it. He's accepting bribes from fossil fuels. If you're supporting him, you're an idiot. But this is a moment where Brian Schatz really drives home how all our electric bills are going to go up.
Will create shortage. This bill will create shortages. This bill will impede economic progress. This bill will increase prices. The 500 gigawatts less energy in the next decade is pretty much exactly the amount of energy that we're going to need to meet rising demand. We are going to have energy shortages as a result of this legislation. And you don't have to love clean energy or be an environmentalist, and I love clean energy and I'm an environmentalist. But you don't have to care about the climate. I think you should. You don't have to care about the climate to understand that this is a basic question of supply and demand. Energy demand is soaring for the first time in decades, largely, not exclusively, but largely because of AI data centers. And our best chance of meeting it in the next few years is with wind and solar, not oil and gas. Even nuclear and geothermal are going to take a while. That is not just a political talking point or a preference of mine. It's just a fact that gas turbines are stuck in a years-long backlog. It's also a fact that 80% of the new capacity on the grid last year came from solar and storage. It's growing, it's cheap, it works.
80% of the new capacity on the grid last year came from solar. But let's go back to coal. Makes perfect sense.
And there are hundreds more projects that are in the pipeline waiting to be hooked up. So the idea that we're going to kill the only energy that can be brought online in the short run, the very same week that half the country was melting in a record heat wave, which left tens of thousands without power, is beyond absurd. That'll cost people, not companies, people, ratepayers, $60 billion in this decade alone. Your electric bills are about to go up.
Geniuses. You guys are all because Trump took a bunch of bribes from fossil fuels and thinks it's 1895. Now we've all got to pay more for electric. God, it's like geniuses. They're like, why won't you talk to me? There's no point in talking to any of you. I've talked to countless of all of you. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Some of your brains work slightly. That's true. But also the people whose brains work that I've talked to on the right, like, they would never have done what that guy did in the comments and say asinine things that make no sense. So, like, some of their brains are slightly working and are following lines of logic. And if you can do that, then you have to move left, because none of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense.
And so now, don't take my word for it, take Mr. Musk's word for it. The latest Senate draft bill destroys millions of jobs in America and causes immense strategic harm to our country. Utterly insane, destructive. It gives handouts to the industries of the past while severely damaging the industries of the future. Yeah, he said it best.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing. It doesn't matter. We have to move to cleaner, more efficient energy. There's no choice. We're already behind China, like grossly behind China. And for some reason, because MAGA's a cult and in cognitive dissonance, they're like, hey, let's bite off our nose to spite our face. Let's make sure we lose the race to cleaner, more efficient energy. None of this makes any sense. And Terry, thank you for the $2 for a smile. No, I am smiling. It's just this stuff is so heavy. Like, we're talking about 50% of kids in America are on Medicaid. Like, I think 40% of births in America are paid for by Medicaid. And like, think about it. It's not just who's going to be covered by Medicaid. Hospitals are closing. So when people are hemorrhaging, women are trying to give birth, it's particularly in rural areas, they're not going to be able to get to the hospital in time. These things kill me. We're in gross population decline, but let's not fund women's health care while we demand that women get on their backs and give birth. I wonder why women don't want to have children in this country. Heather, thank you for the $1 of Venmo. And also, I missed you. Glad you're back on. Thank you so much. And I missed you guys. I realized this is where this is how I get my thoughts out. Lisa, thank you for the $15 on Venmo. Thank you for everything you do. You make us smarter, and you guys make me smarter. You guys are like my sounding board. I read all your comments, and then that's how I level set with everything. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And now for the saddest FOD. Like, thank you for the super chat. I know you were joking when you said, "Why don't we all give up?" It hit home. I felt that way too right before all changed. I started a fam. The reason I keep going. I love your heart even in the dark moments. Thank God. I'm not going to end this live by sobbing, but yeah, I just have dark humor because of stuff I survived. But don't worry about me. If I ever really am, like, this is why I'm in Denver right now. Whenever I'm in therapy twice a week, things are okay. But though, that hit home when you said that. I was reading that during that clip and I was like, that is heavy and also very accurate. I'm trying to think. Well, actually, I'm not going to get into the Supreme Court stuff now. Again, wait, hold on. This is what I want to do. I want to look really quick because I do think there's just a couple more clips. Yes, Chris. Okay. They were the next ones. I was like, there's some Chris Murphy clips I think are super important. I would just want to go over because, Senator Chris Murphy looking always very presidential and very spot on, and also can read and do math. This was Chris Murphy yesterday being interviewed by gross Kristen Welker, who every day loses slightly more of my respect. But I get it. Like, you're a talking head who is only allowed to say certain things. I'd love you more. She should leave NBC. It's getting grosser and grosser.
Two Republicans who say they are a no on this legislation. Senator Murphy, do you think there's any chance that the so-called big beautiful bill does not pass the Senate?
I do think there's a chance it doesn't pass. They are trying to ram it through as quickly as they can, likely in the middle of the night tonight, because every day that this bill hangs.
That was last night. So this is a good example. Like, if they could have voted it on in the middle of the night last night, they would have. If they can do it in the middle of the night this night, they will. Like, yeehaw. Like, I was thinking that when they were debating on the Senate floor on a Sunday, like, they would love for this to go down in the cover of darkness. It's the same thing they tried to do in the House, but House Democrats dragged it out all night long, like for 3 nights until they voted during the daytime. Like, so let's see what the Senate Democrats can do to postpone this. I mean, it can only go on for so long.
Out there, it becomes less popular. As you noted, by almost a 2-to-1 margin, the American people hate this piece of legislation because it's going to represent the biggest transfer of wealth and money from the poor and the middle class to the rich in the history of the country. It's not about efficiencies in Medicaid. CBO, which is the Congressional Budget.
Not to interrupt Chris Murphy because we love him, but who said that? Amy in the comments said, I can't watch her. She never pushes back. Never. Watch Kristen Welker. Watch people blatantly lie. I mean, someone could tell 100 lies in a minute and she would never be like, hey, that's a lie. Like, the same thing that Trump would make people promise during his campaign, like, oh, you can fact check me after the fact, just not live. It's like, that is her ethos now. She will never say, hey, that's not true. I've never heard Kristen Welker say, hey, that doesn't seem to be true in like months. We're like 6 months out from the last time Kristen Welker was like, hey, that's not true. Like, she won't do it. It's scary to watch.
It's not about efficiencies in Medicaid. CBO, which is the Congressional Budget Office, nonpartisan, says it's going to kick between 10 and 15 million people off their health care. And for what? To be able to afford a new $270,000 tax cut for the richest families in the country. New tax cuts for corporations, new tax cuts for billionaires. This bill stinks. It's a moral abomination. Everybody that learns about it hates it. And so there's a chance that it won't pass. That's in part why we're forcing them to read it, because every single day that people learn about it, they're flooding their members' offices with calls to tell them to stop this bill. Nobody is asking for 16 million people to lose their health care just so that corporations and the very rich can get a new tax cut. That's super unpopular, and we're going to work this thing until the final vote.
You know, Senator.
No one cares, Kristen. Jesus, I don't speak. I know. She's at my, and I wanted, oh yeah, now I remember. I knew there's like 3 clips of Chris Murphy I clipped, and I was like, these are so good. Okay. This is another one where, and here's another example of Kristen Welker being just like, it's almost like she's trying to like score points for Trump, because obviously everything points to Trump's a liar who can't read or do math. But then what's the one thing you could argue, right? You could say, well, barely anyone's trying to cross the southern border. Yeah, well, if you do a bunch of unconstitutional, horrific things, like, which I always like to say, I don't even like the way Joe Biden did it. No president should rule through executive order. Congress needs to pass meaningful immigration legislation. That's legally how you do any of this, right? But what Biden did with just a simple executive order, and what Trump is doing now, is literally like saying someone who is like accidentally hit someone on a bike with their car is the same thing as like Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the comparison. It's delusional. And listen to how I feel like Kristen Welker was trying to get like a point for Trump, and then Chris Murphy's like, no, weirdo.
Border crossings are at a record low. Do you give the Trump administration some credit for that? And are you, when you look at those figures, do you think things are moving in the right direction, at least in that regard, Senator?
No, I don't give them credit for that, because border crossings are low because they're violating the law every day. So we have a law in this country that says if you are fleeing terror or torture from another country, you can come here and apply for asylum. The Trump administration has suspended that law. They are not allowing anybody to come here to apply for asylum. We wrote that bipartisan bill last year to reform the asylum process, to make sure that only the right people are coming in, and that we judge those cases expeditiously at the border. So it's true, there are very few people crossing on a daily basis, but that's because the Trump administration is violating the law. And it should matter to every American that on so many facets, the Trump administration doesn't care about the law. This is becoming a lawless administration. We are on a road to see our democracy atrophy to the point that it will be unrecognizable. And the border is just one example of many ways in which this administration doesn't care about the law anymore.
I mean, did you see how she did that? Because if you had, I watched the full interview, and pretty much she kept trying to be like, well, what about this? What about this? He's like, shut her down. He's like, she did this as like, hey, well, you can't deny Trump did a good job on this. You mean by eroding all of our rights, making a mockery of the Constitution and international treaties, going around Congress, making Congress impotent? Like, do you see how quickly he was? I love Chris Murphy is just getting better and better every time I hear him. I didn't realize it's like, this is there's a lot of negative to Senate Democrats. I was reading this poll that says, like, I think it's the New York Times that has this article, and there's polling to match that, like, they say Democrats in America are trying to, they almost said they use like aggressive language, like unalive, we're trying to do away with our, get rid of our political leaders. Yeah. Like replace them with people who want to fight. But like the good thing is in chaos, in the worst times, the cream rises to the top, right? The people that you never knew, like, hey, they were built for this. Here's a leader that's going to lead us through the darkness, right? I never knew I liked Chris Murphy before Trump was elected the second time. Yeah, okay, Cash App. Sorry, I get so behind because I'm trying to follow lines of logic. First of all, Ave, I missed you so much. Thanks for today's receipts. We are here for you and I for you, and I appreciate that so much. And William, thank you for the $10 on Venmo. Please, you're without question. Oh my God, I'm going to start crying. Don't make me cry. Everyone just needs to be like, please, you're without question a very special lady. Keep up your outstanding political work. Love you, Billy from Denver, Colorado. We're all in Denver together, the Mile High City. Thank you. Jennifer, thank you for I love repeating numbers. $4.44 on Venmo for being the absolute best and inspiration to me. Okay, I will not cry. And Chiggy, now we really need. Thank you. God, I can't even say this. I'm really going to cry now. Thank you, Shiggy, for the $200 on Cash App, because quite honestly, that's the nicest. I was going to say I don't deserve this, but my therapist told me to stop apologizing and stop saying I don't deserve things. So I will not say that. But Shiggy, thank you so much for all the support, like in the chat, that's amazingly generous, and I so appreciate you. You don't know what it means to me. And I will not cry right now. Like, how many times have I cried on live streams? Actually, today might be a good day to cry of all of them. I want to play one more clip from Chris Murphy dog walking Kristen Welker. Usually it's supposed to be the other way around, but she's awful. Again, this was yesterday. This is about Trump consolidating presidential power.
Of the laws. You know, the Supreme Court did issue that ruling this week, which effectively will limit judges' ability to issue nationwide injunctions. You just heard my conversation with Senator Mullen about this. What is your reaction to what the Supreme Court ruled this week?
Well, first, let's just talk about what it means for kids that are born in this country. Both the Constitution and the law is clear. If you're born in the United States of America, you're a U.S. citizen. But now, because there's no longer going to be a federal policy, it's going to be different in every state. A child born in the United States, born in Connecticut, will be a citizen. But that same child, if they were born in Oklahoma, might not be. That's chaos. By taking away the power of courts to restrain the president when he is clearly acting in an unlawful manner, as he is when he says that children born in the United States are no longer citizens, you are assisting him in trying to undermine the rule of law and undermine our democracy. So that case is really dangerous because it sets up a patchwork of citizenship laws, but it's really dangerous because it will incentivize the president to act in a lawless manner, because now only the Supreme Court, who can only take a handful of cases a year, can ever stop him from violating the laws and the Constitution.
If I had my way, this is our candidate for president. This is him right here. If I had my way of who we had to vote for next, it would be Chris Murphy. And I've listened to every single soundbite he's had. I've watched all his town halls. If I could and I'm saying this because he's moderate, but also progressive. You know what I mean? Like, he's a lawyer. Like this, if I had my way, this is the people's choice here. This is the guy right here. Like, I'm just saying, I've never seen any evidence to the contrary. Like, we could all think of a lot of reasons we don't want to vote for him. If I by way, he's the guy. Like, truly. And I love Andy Beshear too. I think anyone a Democrat who can hold a red state like Kentucky for 8 years, is also very interesting. But like, he's a little robotic. Like, if I had my way, this is the guy. Like, that cannot lose. Like, there's just no way. Sorry, I was reading Illusions. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, I love the way Chris Murphy sounds. And I want to say this because I've almost exactly been live for 420 minutes. We just got to 600K, and I'm going to end the live now. I'm going to be live with Matt tomorrow on Matt time. So normally we start at 11 Eastern, it'll probably be closer to 12:30 Eastern, but What I want to do, it depends. I'm probably supposed to be debating with Pickles either on Wednesday or Thursday. If he wants, I'll do it Thursday because I think Wednesday we're going to have a lot to talk about. And either I'll go live on, it depends on what's happening in Congress. But I have a lot of clips, like what he just talked about. I've listened to a lot of lawyers break down the 119-page birthright citizenship ruling, and I have a lot of good thoughts about it. I was Conscious Lee made a great video. Brian Baez, Mentally Divine, made a great video, and I want to get to that sometime. I just think as we're like kind of in this moment with this bill where we're all about to be robbed, it might not be the time to do like hours and hours into it. But what he said is right? Like, the way that they chose this moment, right? Like, do you know how many times when Biden was president, Republicans judge shopped and got nationwide injunctions? Now, I want you to think how many times you've heard Republicans say, judges can't rule through nationwide injunctions, which yes, they can. That's actually their job, is to impose, is to limit the power of the executive branch. That is the job of the judiciary, whether you like it or not. But do you know how many times, remember Biden's student loan forgiveness? Nationwide injunction after nationwide injunction. Women's health care, limiting the AB pill through the mail that the FDA had already approved and said was safe. Thank you. There's Lexi. We're always on the same wavelength. Mifepristone, right? Like nationwide injunction. And when it was working in their favor, they loved every second of the nationwide injunctions that took rights from minorities, from trans people, from people just trying to get out from under student loan debt. They loved it. Like, I mean, just because this will work both ways. I want you guys to know that. But for them to do it on this case that has to do with birthright citizenship and the real travesty, and I think Chris Murphy kind of was alluding to it correctly. Everyone knows they can't overturn birthright citizenship. The Constitution, I mean, that will be the end of our U.S. Constitution, period. But they can stop the nationwide injunctions that are pausing it while they delay ruling on it, right? And that is, I mean, read Sotomayor's dissent, which I thought that was bad. And then I read Ketanji Brown Jackson's, like, they are ashamed to be sitting on the Supreme Court in this time. And as we all should be. And I just want to point out, like, Republicans, like, and MAGA might honestly not get it. Do you know what I mean? Whenever Trump tells them there's a problem, they're like, there's a problem. You benefited from nationwide injunctions the entire time Biden was president. Trump and conservatives use them to punish women, to punish trans people, to punish all sorts of things. And you were absolutely fine with it. And all of a sudden, you're like, wait, what's going on? Yeah, you guys. They can't read. I know. They have no idea. It's the first they ever heard of him, even though they were cheering him on for the previous 4 years. We are in a nightmare. We're in a literal nightmare. But yeah, we'll get to that. I have much more to talk about today, but I'm going to end there because I've got some things I have to do. Can I just say, like, I love you all. The outpouring of love today and support, like, you don't know what it means to me. And this is why I love doing this. Like, it's like I felt overwhelmed, but then it's also like, this is also my home. And thank you guys for being here. And well, supporting each other through this is the way to go. If you haven't joined the Discord, please join. But yeah, I just had to take a small break, but I'm back and feeling very angry about what's going on. So I'll be monitoring things, but again, I would just suggest monitoring what's going on because the vote could happen tonight. It could happen tomorrow during the day. It could happen the next day. It just depends on what the Democrats in the Senate have to hold out, you know, because after a while they just will run out of things and then they're going to vote. And I just saw a clip, or I was reading the translation, like a clip because I love to multitask, and creepy Mark Wayne Mullen was just being interviewed and he's saying they have the votes. I mean, he's saying it, and the lady's like, are you sure there's no one? He's like 51-49, we have the votes. That's what he's saying. So I don't know, but yeah, I think we've seen time and time again that not one of these conservatives has any spine to stand up to Trump. They'll let us all be robbed. They'll throw children under the bus, veterans under the bus, women, poor people, the middle class. All of us will suffer because of this. And that's how it's going to go. But the good news is we're all going to do everything we can to resist and dig our heels in together. Thank you guys so much. I shall see you guys again tomorrow live with Matt. It will probably be a little bit later. And as soon as I'll text him after this and ask, but he said an hour and 30 minutes later. So I'm guessing we'll be live by 12:30 Eastern. Oh God. So 9:30 Pacific tomorrow. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. Love you all.